Well, hi once again, everybody. Welcome into, it's going to be another great edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. Hope you are enjoying a great day and getting a chance out to play some golf. The weather in here in Las Vegas, been up and down, some good days, some bad days, but we're hopefully ready for spring, any time now. So we hope that you're getting out to get a chance to play. Golf season is in full glory. The players last year, congratulations to Scotty Scheffler, played great. $4.5 million for first place. That's a lot of cash. And you know what? Despite what you think, I think they've got to really thank the LIV Tour for that, whether you believe in that or not. And speaking of the LIV Tour, I was supposed to be in Tucson today. They're playing their event starting tomorrow at the Gallery, but unfortunately I can't go. But they're going to Orlando after that, and about 7 different countries. But we're going to talk about that with our special guest today. Rumor is Tiger Woods was out at Augusta playing a practice round. Rumor Tiger's going to play, so you know what? We're going to see what happens, but a lot of stuff going on. Anyway, our guest today is absolutely great, has really the inside track on what's going on in golf vis-a-vis his background. So let me give you a little bit about our guest, Loren Anderson. He is the founder of Proponent Group, which is an organization designed to help golf instructors grow their business. And, that's kind of what it's all about. Loren has spent a lot of years in golf media. As an example, he was a managing editor for Instruction at Golf Magazine. He also covered golf equipment for Golf Digest as well, Golf World, and Golf Shop Operations. He's written dozens of cover stories for Golf Magazine, as well as being a co-writer for Golf Magazine's complete book of golf instruction. Loren was golf's leading industry analyst with making multitudinous appearances on television, on CBS, on NBC, on CNN, on ESPN, and of course the Golf Channel. As a side note, Loren's wife Cheryl is the director of instruction for the Mike Bender Golf Academy, and as you know, Mike's a very good friend of mine. He's a great guy, and she was also voted the 2006 National Teacher of the Year. So she knows what she's certainly doing. Maybe we should have her on instead of Loren. No, I'm just kidding you. Anyway, let's welcome up our special guest, Loren Anderson. And Loren, thanks for taking time out, because I know you got a busy schedule, my friend. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. I know you were kidding a little bit, but honestly, you probably would have had a better guest if you had my wife on.
You know what?
Maybe next time.
If you would help me reach out to her, I'd love to have her on the show, because I love Mike Bender as well. Loren, do you think lots of golfers today are afraid to start taking lessons because of the old school thinking they're going to get much worse before they get better? Any truth to that?
Well, there's a truth that people think that. I think competent instruction doesn't mean you have to get worse first. And I think a lot of the top teachers would tell you very clearly that that doesn't have to be the case. But there's a lot of mediocre instruction out there too. And I think, sometimes people don't have a lot of training, maybe assistant pros at the clubs who are giving some lessons, maybe younger. Maybe they're not getting the results that some of the veteran teachers get, and then people get turned off by that, right? So it's certainly an issue for some people, but I think the quality instructors out there, you don't have to get worse before you get better when you work with a quality instructor.
Yeah, that's what I think too, and I think that does in fact keep a lot of people away, and I think it's the wrong way of thinking. In your experience, Loren, do golfers, men in particular, for some reason, in your experience, really exaggerate the abilities that they have? You get a guy on the lesson tee. Well, how far do you hit a 7-iron? Oh, I hit a 7-iron 170 yards, and he barely dinks it out 130. Is that a problem?
Well, it's been funny with TrackMan and the launch monitors the last 10 or 15 years. Now in a lesson, people will say things like that, and then they just put them on the TrackMan. They can see exactly how far the ball really is going, right? So maybe some of that exaggeration has been minimized now that there's actual, accurate numbers to look at. But yeah, I mean, everybody wants to. It's a game, right? Everybody wants to think they're a little better at it than maybe they are. So that's okay. But there's ways to prove exactly how far the ball is really going, right?
Who do you think is easier, Lauren, to get the message to as far as being able to understand it perhaps a little more quickly, men or women in your experience?
It's hard to categorize that way. I mean, I think there's just individuals, right, that either absorb instruction or absorb improvement differently than other golfers do. I mean, my wife works with everybody. She works with literally beginners to tour pros, men and women every day. And she never really categorizes them by, men or women in the way they approach the game. And she's lucky. She works with a lot of girls and young women at the college level and high school level who are amazing athletes. And they just absorb everything that they throw at them. So I don't know if you categorize it like that, but I think there's an attitude for a lot of golfers that they are sort of intimidated by instruction. I think we find a lot of people never really take formal instruction, not because they can't afford it or it's not available to them, but they do have an intimidation to maybe an embarrassment factor. And I think great instructors find a way to take away that embarrassment factor very quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's well said. Do you think that the majority or most weekend amateurs, Lauren, are playing with the wrong type of equipment? And how do your instructors in the Proponent group kind of make them aware of that?
We have a lot of our coaches that are trained club fitters too. I think about 60% of our coaches have training in club fitting. So they do pay very close attention to their students' equipment. And of course, like with Mike and Cheryl here at their academy, they actually have a full-time club fitter on staff. Right. So they're able to hand the people over to the club fitter who does this all day, every day, which is a wonderful, thing to have in your, at your facility. As far as people using the right equipment, it's the haves and the have-nots. If you're at a place where you can be club fit, which is pretty much any club member, anybody who's fairly serious. I mean, there's club champions and all these things all over the place now, right? I mean, our mall here in Lake Mary, Florida now has a couple of club fitters based out of it. So it's not hard to find that. If you want to be club fit at a pretty high level, it's pretty much everywhere. But then some people, maybe public course golfers that maybe places don't have golf professionals, maybe they just don't see the benefit or are as interested in it because it's not right there in front of them. But for 25 years now, Dennis, we've had pretty competent club fitting systems from all the major OEMs, right? I mean, it's been out there for a long time. So if you want to be club fit, it's not hard to find a place to get a quality club fitting.
No, that's true. But Lauren, let me follow up and say, do you think in the long run it's worth the money for players to do that, to get fit for clubs?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it's basically the cost of a golf lesson. At most of the places that our coaches work at, they might charge a $150 fee for a fitting.
For a fitting.
And then in most cases now, they don't force you to buy the clubs there. They basically say, hey, here's your specs. Here's what we believe. You can either buy it through our accounts or you can go someplace else, but you pay for the fitting. So basically for the cost of a single golf lesson, you can have a pretty comprehensive fitting and have a pretty good idea of exactly what you should be purchasing. So it's not a major expense to be quality club fit at this point.
Yeah, no, that I agree with you. I agree with you. You got to take advantage of all the new technology out today. It's just absolutely, it's absolutely fantastic. How did you get the idea? Because you've been in golf media a long time, as I mentioned, with various magazines and media. How did you get the idea of the Proponent Group?
It was very organic, and it came from the coaches. When the magazine world was sort of changing dramatically back 15, 20 years ago, I kind of knew I either had to get out the side door or they're going to throw me out the back door, because that was just where it was all headed, and they were cutting the staffs in half. So I was talking to the top 100 teachers who I worked with all the time at the magazine doing instruction stories. And every time I was with a teacher, Dennis, they'd be like, hey, what's so-and-so doing with his academy? How did he do his book deal? What does he have what's his deal look like at the resort he's at? They all wanted to talk about the business because they're all in these silos all day. Right. And they don't really get a chance to understand how each other's businesses are operating. So when I was about to leave the magazine, I called 6 of the top 100 teachers and I said, guys, you've kind of mentioned to me you're interested in help with your business. And I think I could help you with a lot of these things, whether it's building your websites or, helping with your contracts, things like that. Would you be interested in doing like a retainer and my doing that? And all 6 said, can you start on Monday? So I kind of knew I was on to something. And basically about 2 years after sort of dabbling with about 8 or 10 of the top hundreds in a very small group, I decided it'd be better to help more people and kind of get the cost down and help as many coaches as possible. So we now work with over 400 coaches.
Wow, fantastic.
Active clients, and we've worked with about 1,200 over the last 15 years.
That is absolutely often. In business, and I think it holds true for other things as well, you've got to separate yourself from your competition, Lauren. You know that. Stand out somehow, some way. What do you tell your clients, your coaches, to do that? How are they going to differ from a lot of other coaches out there?
Yes, I think the worst thing you can do is be a jack of all trades, right? Because if you're a jack of all trades, you're not great at anything.
Totally.
And in the marketing world, that's the first thing they teach you, right? Is you need to stand out in some way. You need to have a brand that people identify as best at something. And like we have coaches we work with, like Henry Brunton's been a longtime client.
Great
guy. He
was
a national teacher up in Canada, great teacher. And he's amazing with the juniors. And I said, Henry, let's just focus all of the things on your website, all the homepage, everything we put out there on what you're able to do coaching these competitive juniors. And yet in Toronto, where he's based, all the doctors and lawyers, they all still find him. They know he's a great coach.
Right. Yeah.
And even though he focuses on talking about one piece of the pie, he still gets people that want to buy all the pieces of the pie. And it doesn't affect his business negatively in any way, but it allows him to stand out in his market as maybe the best in the junior piece, and then all the other pieces kind of falling around it.
Yeah, no, that's
just one example.
Yeah, no, he's a terrific guy. We've had him on a couple times, and in fact, I'm trying to get to him today to schedule him for another show.
Oh, good.
What do you think in your business, the Proponent Group, dealing with all of these various instructors? First, Lauren, what do you think is the biggest factor, the biggest attribute an instructor must have to be a good instructor? And secondly, how does a fairly new golfer or a brand new golfer that wants to learn the game, how the hell does he go out and find the right kind of instructor?
Yeah, on your first question, what sort of separates a coach or makes them good? I think the technical side is actually easier to learn now than it's ever been because of the fact that there's thousands of YouTube videos from very highly educated coaches out there. The coaches all watch each other. They learn from each other quickly now in ways that they didn't have access to before, right? So the information's all there. It's not hard to find out what a Brian Manzella or a Mike Bender or a Dean Rymouth is thinking about the golf swing, because it's all kind of out there and been published.
Right.
But if you don't have the charisma and you don't have the empathy to work with the individuals, you will never be able to get to the top level because people will not buy into what you're saying. And I think that is the differentiator that I see in our coaches. And a lot of our coaches are really pretty high up. They've won their section teacher of the year. They're on the Golf Digest, Golf Magazine lists. They've had a lot of success. And you look at them as a group and you get them in a room and they have a lot of charisma. They have a lot of empathy. They have a lot of curiosity about continuing to learn. And I think those are the pieces that really separate the top folks from everybody else in the industry. Yeah,
a lot of people say it just comes down, Lauren, to you have to have good communication. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, great communication skills for sure. And when I say charisma, you could insert the word communication easily because just because you understand it yourself. And I think this was kind of the old way, right? That like a former tour player or somebody who was a good player would decide to become a coach, and they would basically teach their golf swing at the beginning, right? Until they learned more. Right. And you had to be able to communicate more than just your own golf swing, the way you felt about the golf swing. And that's where the great teachers like the Jim Flicks and others I got to spend a lot of time around, they'd have 50 different ways to explain the same issue because they knew different people needed to hear it and understand it in different ways. And that's what makes a really great teacher for sure. Can you be a good teacher, Lauren? Our last question before we take our first break. Can you be a good teacher without having played competitively prior? Kind of, been there, done that type of thing? No, absolutely. I mean, Bill Straussbaugh is one that always is in the back of my head. He was an amazing coach, an amazing teacher, an amazing person, and he couldn't break 80 really. I mean, but he had such an amazing passion for the game, and he could communicate what he wanted to say very well, like you said before. And he had great success with his students. But, there are exceptions, right? Like Bill, who probably proved the rule. At some level, you need to be able to I think to have credibility, and my wife would say this too, the reason why she's kept working on her game and still plays in the U.S. Senior Open,
Right.
things like that, is because there's a credibility gap if you can't demonstrate a shot you're telling somebody else to hit.
Right. I agree.
And, she's a senior and she can still hit all the shots, right? So I think at a certain level, if you want to get the cream of the crop students to work with you, you have to be able to show them you understand how to play and perform the game at a pretty high level.
Right. You could walk the walk, so to speak. I agree with that. All right. I'll tell you what, Lauren, stand by. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we will have a lot more for our special guest, the founder of Proponent Group, Lauren Anderson. Be right back after this. The revolutionary Power to Golf Club requires no swing to hit golf shots from 50 up to 225 yards. That's right, no swing. It's empowering golfers with physical issues to continue enjoying time golfing with friends and family. With just the push of a button, the easy-to-use Power to Golf Club launches shots down the fairway and onto the green. Whether a physical issue or just want to join in on the fun, the Power to Golf Club is for you. Visit online, powergolfclub.com.
Are you an E or a C?
Both have Ridgeback.
These are loaded with tech.
Which one are you gaming? Definitely E for me.
It's just so forgiving.
I'm definitely an E.
C is for Cheka. What else?
C is for kill it.
C is me. Low spinning bombs.
So, are you an E or a C?
I don't know. Hey, wait a minute.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
All right, we are back, everybody, with more of the 19th hole with our special guest, Lauren Anderson. And Lauren, speaking of Manzella, every time I have him on the show, he keeps trying to teach me how to say New Orleans correctly. You know what I mean? And I say, okay, whatever, as long as I get. But he's a great guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, one of the most talented coaches in the game, certainly, and likes to stir the pot, which I know you enjoy.
Yeah.
That's always fun. So. Yeah, I mean, we need lots of Brian Manzellas, and we need lots of personalities in golf instruction in the game, right? It makes it attractive to lots of different kinds of folks and different personalities for sure.
Yeah, it does. It really does. As a top instructor yourself, Lauren, why do you think? What's your view? What's your opinion on why so many damn swing theories have evolved over the last couple of decades, all pointed to having the same purpose, hitting the ball squarely in the middle of the club face? How did all those come about?
It kind of goes back to the comment we were just talking about communication, right? And different ways of explaining the same thing. When I worked for George Pepper, editor of Golf Magazine, his comment to me was, we don't reinvent the wheel at Golf Magazine. We just put a fresh coat of paint on it each month. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of these methodologies are kind of the same thing, right? They're not saying do something completely different than the guy down the road, but they explain it and talk about and highlight different things in different methodologies, right? And Mike Bender has a certain way of teaching, and my wife has a certain way of teaching, and And some people might go, well, that's a Mike Bender swing. Well, I don't know if there's such a thing as a Mike Bender swing.
Yeah.
I think each individual takes some of the ideas of that methodology and finds which ones work best for their body type and their physical skill level, et cetera. And stack and tilt and things like that. I mean, stack and tilt and the X Factor and a lot of those actually came from magazine editors, came up with those titles. They were basically working on articles with those instructors, and they said, well, we need to package this somehow. We need to put a new coat of paint on it.
Right.
Let's come up with an interesting way to talk about
Interesting.
it. So a lot of times it's not even the teachers that actually come up with the names that stick for their own methods, but they know what they want to sell and they know what they want to help people do, but they need people who can kind of help them even package the concepts.
Right. Interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you for enlightening me. What type of teacher, you say you want to work with, quote, talented golf coaches and teachers. What kind of teacher do you look for to get involved with Proponent Group? And secondly, what is the split between male and female?
Well, we outperform on the female side. I think about maybe 8 to 10% of all instructors are women in the country, and we have about 18 to 20% of our membership. Now, maybe because my wife's involved and a lot of her friends have joined, that might be why we maybe outperform a little bit on the women's side. But we don't discriminate from anybody becoming a member. Basically, it's sort of self-selecting at this point. We've been doing this for 15 years, and if somebody calls me and says, hey, I'm happy to pay your fee on top of my PGA dues and my LPGA dues, and I want more information about running my golf instruction business and building my golf instruction brand, we're happy to help that person. It's a self-selecting group. You don't join Proponent Group unless you're pretty serious about trying to see how far you can go in the industry. So we're lucky to have 400 plus coaches who generally are pretty high up. They're about 20 to 22 years of experience on average. And they're just looking for somebody to kind of help them make sure they're not missing opportunities that might be out there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Does it matter whether they are in a private club, semi-private club, or a public facility?
No, it's interesting. We just did our annual survey, and we're usually about 50-50 between employees and independent contractors. And about 45% of our members work at private facilities, a little over 50% work at public. So it's a very interesting mix, and it's not homogenous at all. I mean, people that work, the director of instruction at Baltusrol has very different needs than the guy who's renting a space on a nice driving range in Kansas City, right?
Right.
So we talk to people and have all different issues that they're dealing with every day, which keeps it really interesting.
Yeah, no, that is. Let me ask you this, as a top instructor, I think it's a very hard position, no matter who you are and how experienced you are, when you work at a golf resort and you constantly are teaching and helping people that come and go, and you're kind of putting a Band-Aid on their swing. And I give them a lot of credit for doing that. And I think that's a hell of a lot harder, Lauren, than working with a member week after week after week. I don't know if you agree with me or not. Yeah,
we, as a business model, we believe in long-term coaching. I mean, I personally believe, and I'll correct you just a little bit, I'm not a PGA member. I've never taught professionally. So I vicariously watch all these processes through my wife every day.
Okay.
But the reality is that you have a very complicated game, and no matter what anybody says, it's not simple, right? No matter how long you play it in your life, it never gets easy.
No, never.
But you can have shot euphoria the first time you go out, right? You could hit a great shot the first time you play the game.
Right.
So it's a really interesting mix of good and bad that happens when you are a golfer as far as results. And I've always believed, and we talk to our members about the idea of building programming, building a menu that includes long-term coaching. Because at the end of the day, you're probably not going to get somebody where they really want to get to unless they have a longer-term relationship with the coach. But there's nothing wrong with going to a golf school. There's nothing wrong with going to Sea Island or PGA National or someplace and going for a 3-day and get some instruction. That's okay. But I think a lot of those golf schools now have turned into sort of an assessment. They'll assess your equipment. They'll assess your mental game. They'll do personality tests, and they'll kind of give you a bunch of information about how you learn, how you stress on the golf course, talk about strategy and things like that you can take home with you. But they don't really try to rebuild your golf swing so much. I think the days of going to a 3-day golf school, in a resort and having somebody try to rebuild your swing, is not as prevalent as it used to be. And I think that's probably good for everybody. And then you take that information back to your home pro, and hopefully you can build off of that when you get back home.
You know, and I get asked a fair amount, Lauren, I want to get your view on it. A lot of people ask me, well, Dennis, what do you think I should do? Should I take a group lesson or should I take individual lessons?
I mean, look, it's personality is a lot of it, right? Some people prefer to learn with others. We know Troon did a study a while back. Tim Mahoney over at Troon shared this with me, where they found that when people came together, like 2 people or more, they stayed in the programming twice as long. Because they didn't want to lay each other down, and they kind of did it as a buddy thing. And that was a really interesting nugget that I talked to our members about, saying, like, if you want to get people to stay with you and stay in the program, if you can create small groups or opportunities for people to come together for instruction, that may actually have a big effect on whether or not they stay with it long enough to see significant change. So that was something I always remember, that comment from Tim and Troon in the research that they had done, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and it's kind of a support thing also. You know, they're there with their girlfriend or with their buddy and stuff like that. That, you know, that does make a lot of sense. Well, and Dennis, I'll tell you one little short story you might get a kick out of. Sure. At Cog Hill in Chicago, the Gemsec family owns Cog Hill and a couple other courses in Chicago, amazing operators. They used to run clinics every week. And for years, they were just like beginner clinics, and they had a basic name to them. And then one year, they changed the name to No Embarrassment Clinics. And when they changed the name to No Embarrassment Clinics, I like that. Registrations went up 400% that year for the clinics. Oh, my goodness. So it tells you the psychology of a lot of golfers. They're just kind of, they feel intimidated by being in front of an instructor, analyzing what they're doing. And if you can take the embarrassment factor out of it, a lot more people are interested in golf instruction. Yeah, that's very, very true. All right, I'm going to ask you this, and then again, we'll just step away and take a short break. Your views on the USGA and the RNA about rolling back the ball. You know, as you know, the tour players that I've read about, talked to, they're hammering the USGA over this. They think it's stupid. Other people see a benefit to it. I personally do not. I think people that attend golf tournaments love watching these guys knock the cover off the ball. They're living vicariously through them. There are other things you could do to slow these guys up. What? I think the biggest problem for tour players is making them make a decision. They could hit a shot 4 different ways. What should I do? What will be the best outcome? Make the greens complex a little bit harder. Narrow the fairways. Grow the rough. And what we have gotten away today from, Lauren, I think, these guys don't know how to shape the golf ball anymore. Make them shape the golf ball like they did years ago. What's your feelings about it? Well, on the shaping the golf ball, it's an interesting point, because I think it's harder for the pros to turn the ball with the new balls, right? They're so much better designed. Absolutely. So that's part of the issue, right? Is that they don't have to do it anymore. My wife and I used to practice down here in Orlando with a couple of guys in the tour, and I remember one of them one time standing with an 8-iron about 165, and my wife says, "What are you aiming at?" He says, "Well, I'm aiming at the hole." And she says, "You're aiming at the hole?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm aiming at the hole." And she goes, "Well, do you do that in tournaments?" He goes, "Yeah, inside 175 yards, I just aim at the hole." Like, he wasn't even thinking about trying to move the ball right to left to left. That's how straight they can hit it now. So I thought that was interesting. But just take a step back to your comment about the USGA and the RNA. I haven't looked at it super careful yet. It's just been out for a couple of days, right? But I did read the release. I did look at a little bit of the information on the USGA site. I did see some of the comments from the players. And I thought about something interesting. 2000, 2001 was peak Tiger Woods, right? The whole world's thinking about golf. And, you know, that was when the golf ball was really starting to jump, and the Pro V had been out there for a while. Right. The bigger club heads were out there. And you look at the game the next 10 years, from 2001 to 2011, and we lost 50 million rounds a year in the U.S. as far as rounds played. So having a hotter ball and having the easier to hit the ball out there for an amateur didn't grow the game. And I don't have an answer for that. I don't know why that was, except that was the fact of the matter, was after all of this, you know, making the game a little bit easier, right, and letting the amateur hit the ball a little farther, people didn't play more golf. They actually played less golf during that decade. And until COVID hit, we didn't see any growth back for the next 10 years. So the 20 years since the Pro V1 and that really took off, until COVID, we saw nothing positive happening for like recreational golfers
Yeah.
playing more golf. So that's a weird thing to me that we thought, oh, the game will be easier and people want to play more. And that's not what happened. So I don't have an answer as to why, but that's a really interesting point when you think about the fact that it's kind of counterintuitive to what everybody thought was going to happen.
That is. Before we take our break, what do you think we need to do to, quote, grow the game? Everybody talks about that. So what do we do to grow the game?
Well, I'm biased because I focus on golf instruction and how golf instruction fits into the game. But I truly believe, and I spoke on this at the PGA show and have documented this over the last 5 or 10 years that we've looked for data. But we believe there's an outsized effect when a golf coach or a golf instructor at a club builds a culture of improvement at that facility, and more people take instruction and more people work on their game. We know there is now data that shows that when you are taking instruction and you are working on your game, you spend 78% more money that year on golf and at the facility. We know that when you start breaking 100 regularly, your passion for the game jumps up significantly.
Yeah.
You now think you're a golfer for life.
Right.
So if instructors can help create that culture of improvement, there's an outsized benefit for the facility and the coaches and the golfers, because buying a shirt in the golf shop or paying a green fee, that's all fine, but that doesn't necessarily change your habits. When you get better at the game, it will change your habits and how you interact with the game. And that's where the golf instructor can really make a difference.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The better you get, the more you enjoy it. All right, Lauren, stand by. We're going to take another short break. We come back, we will finish up with our special guest, Lauren Anderson. Back right after this. One of the perks about being in golf media is that I get to try every club ever made. Of course, like most things, some are better than others. I'm here to tell you that I have found unquestionably the absolute best performing set of irons I have ever played, and my scores show it. Let me introduce you to Grindworks, custom fitted irons that are made to fit your game. Grindworks offers players 3 different styles of irons. You can choose muscle back irons, cavity back irons, and even blades, along with some awesome wedges. And when you purchase your clubs, Grindworks lets you choose the type of shaft you want, the type grip you prefer, and even will adjust the loft and lie of your clubs if needed. That's unheard of. So what are you waiting for? Feel the power and experience and performance of these amazing clubs. Simply go to grindworksusa.com or call 281-651-4046 to order. Trust me, your handicap will love you for it.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Continuing our great discussion with Lauren Anderson. Lauren, you have worked for these various golf publications, and do you think that the average golfer today is getting an overload on instruction? And what I mean by that, I could read various golf publications, Golf Magazine, this and that and the other. I could read books. I could look at DVDs. I could go to YouTube and find all of this instruction online. I pick up a magazine, I learn how to hit a draw 10 different ways. To me, that is just overload and too difficult.
You know, when I was at the magazines, we would survey the readers every year, and it would always come back to the thing they wanted the most of was instruction. So the magazine was built around what the readers wanted, right? That's just the way it is. And we would kind of internally, the way we thought about it was you put out 30 or 35 pages of instruction a month, maybe 8 or 10 different authors or coaches involved. And the idea wasn't that somebody should go out and try every tip, but if there's something you're struggling with, maybe one of those tips might be something worth trying on the range this week, or give you some education about the golf swing. But one of the reasons I started the Top 100 Teacher Program was because we did believe that it was very important that you find a local coach who knows you and your game.
Right.
And you can read all the articles, you can watch all the YouTube videos and all that, but I will tell you, I still believe 30 some years later that the best way forward is to have somebody who knows your game, who you can trust to keep an eye on you and coach you along the way, who's competent at giving instruction, and that's the best way forward. So a lot of it's edutainment, right? It's this idea that you can learn some things. It teaches you what the stack and tilt guys are focusing on, or what Brian Manzella is focusing on, or Martin Hall's talking about. But it doesn't mean you have to run out and try everything in stack and tilt the next day, or everything that Brian's talking about. It just gives you some more general knowledge of what's out there. But you still need to have a coach, hopefully at the local level, who you can see whenever you need to move you forward in your game.
I agree with you 100%. By the way, you got any Proponent members in Las Vegas here in Southern Nevada?
Matt Henderson, I believe, is still nearby.
Matt's a great guy. He's at a TPC Las Vegas. Yeah.
Great coach. We may have a couple others. I honestly, I don't know at the moment exactly who's in your neighborhood, but I know Matt's one of our members who does a great job out in your neck of the woods. And,
Matt's a good guy.
Yeah, just a really quality. There's a lot of quality coaches. I know some people like to say, golf instruction, it's not that great. And I'm the first to say that there is a lot of mediocre golf instruction out there because a lot of underqualified people are allowed to give lessons, right? But the people who are trained and who spend, a lifetime or many years trying to be good at this, often become very, very talented instructors. And I think, fortunately, the people I get to work with are generally very talented instructors. Yeah,
Matt's a good guy. So I mentioned at the top of the show, I was actually supposed to be in Arizona at the LIV event. I got invited to go to Tucson to that, but unfortunately could not go. What do you think about the LIV Tour, by the way? There's a lot of back and forth. I know some of the players personally that are on LIV. And I think this year, Lauren, is going to be a watershed year for them. Now that they're on TV with the CW, changing things up. I know the guys that I play golf with are real traditionalists. They don't go for the music. They don't go for the guys wearing shorts, this and that and the other. But who's to say? What's your thoughts?
Well, they're going to be here in Orlando in a couple weeks. And I actually have been thinking about whether or not it's worth going out for a day and checking it out in person, but haven't made that decision yet. But I'm not against it. I think it has a place. I don't think it's a rival to the PGA Tour yet. I mean, the quality of play, the size of the fields, there's just a lot of things that aren't there yet, right? But you can see when you have unlimited purse strings, that you can build something pretty interesting pretty fast, right? But I'm pretty traditional. Like I said, my wife still competes in USGA events, things like that, and I'd like to not see the PGA Tour be harmed significantly by this. I think there's a role for the PGA Tour to play going forward for sure, right? Is there room for both of them to do what they do? I think that's really going to be the question, right? And are there times where they can coexist, whether it's the majors or whether it's some back and forth that might be allowed down the road? But right now, I think both sides are trying to see how much they can sort of keep the other side from advancing, right? And as long as that's the thinking, there's not going to be any give on it's kind of the point we're at right now. But it's it's fascinating to see what they built so quickly, right? And I think it does appeal to different type of golfers or golf fan, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if it appeals to some new people that haven't been involved in the game before, that might be really good. But I don't think the PGA Tour has to worry about being swamped. I think they've proven the last few months they're still putting on great events. They still have great champions, and that shouldn't change anytime soon.
Yeah, but it's ironic how the tour has also, increased purses now, and they're having more no-cut events, and this and that and the other. And I think that is directly, a result from that. But like you say, it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. If somebody looking at the show thinks they're, wants to get involved with Proponent Group, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, we like I said, we will work with any full-time coach, anybody who makes a living teaching the game of golf. We are happy to try to help them with their business issues. You can reach out with proponent-group.com is our website. All the information's on there for a coach who wants more, and they're always welcome to reach out to me directly. Always happy to talk to a prospective coach member. And, we're very fortunate. We found kind of a little niche that fits sort of my background. And like I said, I've watched my wife for 30 years build her career. And I have a passion for this. I really enjoy helping the coaches. It's a great way for me to be part of the industry, even though I'm not in the media anymore. And we've helped a lot of people with a lot of different aspects of their careers. And that's very gratifying to us to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I'm going to be at the Villages in a couple of months doing a project. How far is that from you?
I'm not too far away, probably 45 minutes.
Really?
I'm up at the north end of Orlando, so not too far.
Can I give you a heads up when I'm going to be there and come down and see you?
Yeah, let's try to make that happen.
And, maybe...
Love to meet my wife, too. If you haven't met Shirley, come down.
I would love to, and maybe tee it up, because I could use the money, Lauren.
Well, trust me, when you talk about them rolling the ball back, when you watch my drives, you think I'm already using the ball when I'm rolling back.
Yeah, sure. Oh boy, I'm already getting hustled. Do me a favor though, seriously, will you talk to your lovely wife and tell her, hopefully you had a good time on the show, that I'd love to reach out to her, and I'd love to get her on the show, Lauren.
Yeah, she'd be great. Great conversation. I'm sure she'll be happy to do it. And hopefully we'll both see you down here in person soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Lauren, thank you so much for your time, because I know you're busy. Loved having you, and hopefully we're going to do it again sooner than later.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Dennis.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren Anderson, everybody. All right, we're going to step away, take one more short break, come back, and we'll close up the show. Stay tuned. The revolutionary Power to Golf Club is helping golfers around the world continue to enjoy the greatest game of all. This amazing club requires no swing to hit shots from 50 up to 225 yards. That's right, no swing to hit shots, including fades, draws, low shots, as well as high ones. One incredible club does it all. Golfers with a wide variety of physical issues, including bad backs, hips, shoulders, and more, are now back in the game golfing with friends and family. Just set the club to the desired distance, and with a push of the button, the easy-to-use Power to Golf Club launches shots down the fairway and onto the green. The Power to Golf Club has been endorsed by some of the biggest names in golf, and the number of golfers enjoying the game by use of our unique technology continues to grow. Whether a physical issue or just want to join in on the fun, the Power to Golf Club is for you. Don't be left on the sidelines. Get back in the game today. Visit at powergolfclub.com. Hi, I'm Dennis Overs, host of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers, and I'm here to tell you about some great wedges and putters from Grindworks USA. First, the Grindworks Barrett Collection Wedge Set. These wedges are unparalleled in today's market. The wedges come to you in 3 different lofts, 51, 57, and 61 degrees, all designed to be able to spin around the greens with the ability to hit high, middle, or low shots around the greens. Grindworks also makes a line of their Windsor Wells Precision Machine putters. This beautiful design of putter was not only created to be appealing to the eye, but to perform better on the greens. You will gain a ton of confidence to help lower your scores. Go to grindworksusa.com or call 281-651-4046. I promise your scores will love you for it. All right, welcome back, everybody. I got to tell you that power to golf club is just amazing. You know, the one where you don't swing and it just, you know, hits the ball for you. Ever see? If you get a chance to see that demonstrated in person, you got to do that. It's unbelievable. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I've been your host, Dennis Silvers. Hope you enjoyed the show. We love bringing it to you, and we're going to see you back real soon. Until then, get out and play some golf. So long, everybody.